people need a place to live. All people need a safe place to live. If our country was in the shape of Syria, was in the shape of Syria, I would hope somebody somewhere would let us come and stay there.
The Syrian refugee crisis is a result of the Syrian civil war, which is a conflict currently being fought in Syria between the Syrian government, Syrian rebel groups, and terrorist groups like the Islamic State. The growing severity of the crisis has driven many Syrian citizens to search for asylum in other countries. While the response from European leadership on the refugee crisis varies on a country-to-country basis, the majority of the countries in the European Union seem to be very supportive, if not overly supportive, in the case of Germany, of Syrian refugees. The reason that I say the German government may be overly supportive of refugees is that they plan on taking in 1 million per year for the foreseeable future, which is a problem because they are already having difficulties assimilating refugees into their society. This footage of Middle Eastern migrants was taken in Berlin, Germany on New Year's Eve. Now, I want to specify that when I say migrants, I don't mean refugees, but the problem is that the refugee crisis has caused much of Europe to have an open doors policy for immigrants, which has caused violence, and in the case of Berlin and Cologne, Germany, on New Year's Eve, there were tons of assault and sexual assault both towards German citizens. This open doors policy also sadly resulted in the terrorist attacks in Brussels in March this year. Francois Shetman, the mayor of the Molenbeek municipality in which the attacks in Brussels occurred, also had warnings that the attacks might happen and did not act on them. The sad result of this open doors policy of the majority of the European Union is that many people are starting to oppose allowing refugees or migrants into their societies at all. Events such as those that happened in San Bernardino, Paris, and Brussels is that many people in the United States are also hesitant to allow Middle Eastern migrants or refugees into our country. While they're not from the Middle East, Owensboro has had its own success with the Burmese refugees in our population.
The Burmese work at Tyson?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a 96% employment rate among employable adults. They have some other places where they work, TTMA, work at UniFirst, some work at Fields Packing, and there's some other places where they work as well, Hunter Douglas.
Okay.
But mostly they work at Tyson.
Well, I've talked about the problems that come with allowing a large population of Middle Eastern migrants into a society at that proper time for assimilation. I would also like to talk about the positives that might come if we allow a population of some sort of vetted refugees into our own society. The problem with leaving the refugees by themselves in Syria is that they become recruitment targets for groups like ISIS. And as the refugees don't necessarily have to stay in their camps, they are allowed to leave and can potentially join the groups. While I'm not in favor of allowing a super large population of refugees into our society all at once, I do feel like the United States has something to gain from Syrian refugees, and if we do it properly, we can keep everyone safe and also help out not just the refugees but ourselves economically. The emergence of a low-skilled labor force in areas like Turkish Kurdistan has allowed for economic booms in the area which was once dilapidated. While the assimilation process was much faster for Syrian refugees in Turkish Kurdistan because they speak the same language, with enough time the United States would have the same benefits. In closing, while the best and safest solution for the Syrian refugee crisis would be the end of the civil war that is happening in Syria, in the meantime, the safest thing that Western societies can do is donate money to the United Nations who care for the refugees, and vigilantly and carefully vet the refugees that they allow to their countries to make sure that it keeps both of the populations safe.